might not know who you are, could you just give us a quick introduction about who you are, maybe like what you do?
All right. So my name is Mo. I'm a registered dietitian by trade. So dietitian works primarily with people's nutrition. They're licensed professionals that you might see them in hospitals and public health, working with private. So I'm a registered dietitian by trade, but along my work, I've taken like an interest into integrating different approaches, including life coaching, therapy, specializing in behavioral change, and a few things like that. Primarily, kind of what I do. I've been working privately for the past 6 years now. So this will be the 6th year, and I have 2 degrees: one from biomedical sciences from University of Waterloo, one in dietetics and applied human nutrition from Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax. School, beautiful city, beautiful school too. And started working as soon as I graduated because, like many people, couldn't find a job, and I was like looking around, applying to a lot of places, didn't really hear back at all. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can start working privately a little bit on the side, and until I find one. And I did that, and that's it. I just never really at some point decided to just be all in it because I liked it a lot and was doing pretty well in it. And definitely has been ups and downs there, but I started with weight loss and ended up specializing with binge eating disorder.
So so you transitioned from weight loss to like binge eating? Like, could you like explain your like motivation? Did it just kind of work out, or did you like have anything that really pushed you towards binge specializing with binge eating?
I personally struggled with binge eating in the past, and I wasn't really aware of it until I started learning that it's a thing. And I also, along the way, after university, the first year after I was done school completely, I think I was 24, 25. Oh, it was one of the worst years of my life. I was in really low point depression. My binge eating was at a pretty high point. I also picked up a smoking addiction at the same time. And I realized that, you know what, like this kind of behavior is as a result of something about myself that I'm unaware of. And I dug deep and did the work and realized that, hey, this is really, really cool. Once I overcame it, I want to help people who struggle with the same problem. So I started actually, ironically, is I started coming across a lot of my clients uncovering that they had binge eating. So they would come for me for weight loss. And with weight loss, it's really difficult to help somebody with weight loss when they're struggling with binge eating because the binge eating is in the way. So at some point, I was like, okay, well, I really want to help those who seem kind of like a difficult case. I also like challenging situations. And I realized that a lot of them struggled with the same problem that I had, which is binge eating. And so from there, that's when I took an interest in it and I started specializing in it. That was a year and a half into my practice. So I've been specifically working with binge eating for 5 years now.
All right. And so is this like, how do your approaches like to how you went with weight loss to like how you focus on binge eating like differ? Like, you talked about incorporating mental health earlier, about how you've tried different approaches. Is that specifically towards binge eating something you've done for your program?
Yes, so I'm big on reading. I read a lot. That's one thing that I learned in my childhood that kind of helped me big time. So I read a lot, all kinds of books, therapy books that are beyond my profession, psychology, different types of therapy, different types of trauma, life coaching books, all this stuff. So I realized that it's impossible to focus on just one approach, which is the nutrition, for example. Like the nutrition alone is not something that is the solution to binge eating because it's just a coping mechanism. So I had to learn a lot about mental health, as what makes people likely to be depressed, what makes them likely to be anxious, how to get out of it, and all these components were integrated in it along the way. But I had to do it on myself first. I had to implement all the things that I learned on myself before I was able to implement them on others. And once I implemented on others, I realized that these people have different struggles and different problems, and so I started working on resolving that until I got to a point where like I developed a really clear picture of everything that causes binge eating. And I got to a point where it was very difficult for me to actually come across someone who I cannot help unless they have like a problem that's, you know, they're in the middle of a crisis, internal crisis, and they, you know, potentially need like heavy intervention, maybe hospital medication, stuff like that. But a lot of what I learned was reading, taking courses on the side, talking to professionals, and implementing a lot of experimentation as well. Yes.
Is there like a team, like maybe like you have professionals that reach out to? Because I imagine you cannot know you cannot know everything about psychology, you cannot know everything about nutrition or everything about mental health. Is there anybody that you communicate with, any like professionals that you work with that help you maybe with your clientele, or maybe just in general help you learn more about yourself and your profession?
Good. Okay, that's a really good question. So, two things, two answers I have for that. So remember when I said the volume of obstacles you experience largely affects the actually the reward that you get as well. So the more people you help, the more you end up helping yourself. One thing about me, growing up, is I ended up, which was used to be a weakness a little bit, but I've learned to work with it. Is I usually take on a lot, and I can sometimes take out, like my parents always say, Mo takes a bigger bite than they can chew. He can choose sometimes, but I don't give up. That's one thing about me, is I will maybe take a bigger bite that I can chew, but I will make sure I chew it, and I will keep going until I chew it. So based on that, I've worked with a lot, and I've taken upon myself to help them to an extent where I've read a lot about psychology, nutrition. I truly believe the nutrition that I know, and the amount of the level that I work on nutrition wise is pretty high, to a point where I'm very confident with it. The psychology piece, very confident with it. A lot of my clients are psychologists and psychoanalysts who come to me because they can't overcome that problem, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not purely a psychological problem. There's other
Right.
elements to it too. So that piece is the confidence of knowing that if anybody comes to me who struggles with binge eating, and I talk to them on the phone, because I usually will either have a call or have like an assessment for them to make, or they'll attend one of my workshops or the events. And based on the questions I ask, I will let them know if I can help or not. If I can't help, I refer them somewhere else. I like, you know what, like this is too difficult. There's so many things that go into it, but that's rare, and usually involves somebody going through like an immediate distressful moment. Like, let's say they're like very suicidal right now, or they're very stuck in the middle of an extreme rut, and they're super emotional the whole time. That's difficult sometimes. The rest is pretty straightforward and simple. And so once I take them on, I really do believe that I can help them, and I have the tools for them to be able to succeed. Just because the amount of things that go into it it's not just one part. Like, I like to compare the work that I do as having a dietitian, a therapist, a behavioral change specialist, a life coach, a personal trainer, because I used to be a trainer too. And I'm even like, I've worked hard to learn about trauma and trauma processing. So all these elements are into my program. The second part, which is where you were asking, very, very powerful question, is, do I have professionals in my life who help me? Absolutely. Nobody can do anything on their own. As in, I can deliver on my own, but in the back end of my life, if I'm on my own the whole time, then there's only so far that I can go. So I have a mentor who mentors me like, I talk to him once a week, who is very, very well knowledgeable in the behavioral change component and the business component, and just he has a very good view of life, very intelligent. I have a therapist that I work with, that I see once every 2 weeks roughly. Again, she's brilliant, excellent. She helps me. She's taught me so many things. I sometimes will share certain things. She mainly helps me with myself, not with my clients. So with the problems that I face, and I've been seeing her for over a year now, roughly, or maybe close to that. And I have a life coach that I work with as well, who helps me in my relationships in general. And that's my team. And I have my mother. My mother as well is really important to me. She's always reading. She's the one who taught me how to read when I was a kid. She still reads. She reads probably more than I do, but that's because she's retired right now. So she's always reading about psychology and fields. She's like, this is a book you got to read. This is a good book you got to read. And actually, she's helped me a lot in my program, as in she's challenged me in certain areas and told me I should maybe, like, we should incorporate this and incorporate that. And so these four people collectively are the team that I will go to, and I would call them professionals, all that would help me bring more to the table when it comes to my program, my clients. For sure, it is very difficult to do something 100% on your own. Everybody needs a team. And actually, right now, come to think about it, I'm in the process of training coaches to deliver my programs as well, because my program's been growing. And so I'm training 3 coaches to be able to deliver parts of the program. That way I can be able to design more workshops and more parts of the program, and just innovate more in it. So yeah, That's a great question. The having people in your life that can kind of help you. Yeah.
So anything perhaps in your past leading up to your work as a dietitian and your work with Beyond the Binge, is there anything you would change? Would you have started it sooner, or would you have maybe done something differently? Or
No, I wouldn't do anything differently. Um, the only thing I would have done, actually, you know what? Come think about it, the only thing I would have done differently is acted sooner. I mean, I still think that I started like I did everything as much as I can, but I know that I could have acted soon. I've always struggled with procrastination, always. And I've always struggled with a little bit of ADHD, which is something that I manage really well right now. And actually, I use it to my own ability. I view it as a superpower, and I like it. I wouldn't change it as well. But when I didn't know how to manage it, it used to suck a lot of time out of my day, and I used to procrastinate a lot. So sometimes I would say, well, you know what, like I wish I acted sooner a little bit, but I'm at a point now where I wouldn't. Like I'm fine with that because I understand that these were all experiences that I had to go through to understand myself more. Uh, so I wouldn't really change anything. And I really view like, like this is just something that I really want to share is if we're stuck thinking what we could have done in the past, what we could have done, and we really miss out on what we can do right now. So there is no time to do that at all. And when it comes to our life, that wasting time thinking about what we should have done this, should have done that, is not what we want to do. Ideally, what we want to do is learn from our past experience, but not necessarily dwell on it and be like, I should have done this, I should have done that. So no, not really. I'm pretty happy with how I did things. And there was a time in my life for sure that if we had this interview like 4 years ago or something, I would have told you, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, but that's not the case anymore. Yeah.
Imagine the pros and cons to like having that personal connection. Could you maybe like go into that? Like, I imagine it might be beneficial, but may also be hurtful at times, just to like personally relate to what they're going through. Or
I 100%. Yes, I can. Oh, that's actually one of the things that is kind of an asset for me, is that I can relate to what they go through. Now I can't relate through everything. I'll be honest with you, for one main reason. 99% of my clients are women, and it's not because men don't struggle with the problem. They do. It's just that women end up seeking help more than men do for some reason. I really don't know why. Probably has to do something has to do with the statistics that women live longer than men on average. Actually, men die younger. Why? Because more risk taking. They avoid the problems more. Women tend to be like, no, you know what? And with body image and health, and unfortunately in society for women, it's a bigger focus point. So it really kind of like freaks them out, and some people are really motivated to do something about it. So there's a lot of things that I can't relate to when it comes to the women, when it comes to the gender specific things. I can relate to it when I see the experience of people going through it, and then I see somebody else going through it. I can relate to it then for one main reason, is because my mind remembers. My mind remembers what I've went through, so what I've seen before from somebody else, and then I can connect with somebody else. But I personally, it's difficult sometimes for me to connect with certain elements. But having said that, we're all basically at the core of us. The core of us, it doesn't matter for a male or female. We're still human beings. So for the majority of what they have to go through, I do definitely I'm able to connect with them more and understand, because I've been there. With the loss of control and the feeling like you're a failure, the feeling it's never going to go away, feeling like you're never going to succeed, feeling like you're a fake. Because I have a lot of my clients are, you'd be surprised, a lot of my clients are very successful in their life, very, very successful. They do play very high, some of them are CEOs, some of them are doctors, some of them are professionals with PhDs, some of them are judges. There's many, but they still struggle with that problem that involves loss of self-control. And so many of them feel kind of fake, or feel like, have that imposter syndrome going on. And I get it. I've experienced that before. So for sure, what I've went through helps me connect more. And I actually, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because I view every negative experience that I've had, from my addiction to my depression, anxiety, and everything, as an opportunity for me to learn, to connect with others, and to learn from my own experience. And so I'm at a point where I don't view my past experiences as anything bad. I appreciate going through it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. And I don't view it as time wasted or time lost. That's it.
right. And is this like this idea of like self-awareness and self-control something that you like, I don't want to say tested, but something that you went through yourself, like on your own journey to heal from depression and binge eating?
Yeah, for sure. I for the longest time didn't know why I was smoking, or why I was depressed, or why I was angry the whole time, or why I was going to food at the end of the day, or why I was super stressed the whole time, or why some days I woke up exhausted, and why some days I don't want to get out of bed, and why some days I don't want to see anybody. And I didn't know why that was the case. Why some things triggered me to react so quick and caused this massive pain in me, and why I kept going back to smoking when I woke up one day and saying that I'm never going to do it again, but I found myself in the evening going for it. I just didn't know. Like, the awareness wasn't there, and the self-control was basically not there as well. It's like I just found myself just falling down a river that was taking me to places I don't want to go, breaking my values, breaking my promises to myself, letting people down, letting myself down. So I definitely experienced that big time. And as I started taking steps to healing that and understanding what drives that and why that's the case, that's how I discovered that the self-awareness and self-control and is really a matter of what we choose to do and how to figure it out, as opposed to how to, like, as opposed to like avoid it or be like whatever, and that's just how it is, and kind of be with it, which is, I find, happens quite frequently. A lot of people are like, just, they're like, don't want to talk about it. Actually, binge eating is one of the most common problems nowadays. It's the most common eating disorder, more common than anorexia, more common than bulimia. Super, super common. But people, generally speaking, will just find it that they've struggled with it for so long that they wonder, is like, is this who I am? Maybe that's who I am, or maybe I'm broken, or maybe nothing I can do will work, and it can't be further from the truth.
Is there anything you're really excited for? Any projects, like, aside from, or any projects, any events that you're just really excited for like beyond the binge?
Yes. So well, actually, I just kind of launched it. I've been doing the small group program for Beyond the Binge, which was like a group of 3 to 4 people who we meet weekly for a couple hours for like 3 months, and we go through the process together. It's a small group approach. I've recently just kind of launched like a solo journey, almost self-study kind of component of the program, which is very same content, nothing different at all. It's just that it's structured week by week videos and worksheets that people fill on their own, and then they have they attend like Q&A calls, weekly Q&A calls, so that they can ask questions in the community and ask me questions, but still they're doing a lot of the work on their own. And it's opposed to being in small groups, because many people like to do the work on their own pace. They don't really want to share and be in a small group. They just want to kind of take it like a little bit more learning on their own. So I just released that, which has been great. So that part I've been really excited about. Excited about doing more in it. But I'm also particularly excited about the next program that I'm going to be starting soon, which I haven't really talked about much, but I'm happy to share with you. But I'll be doing it with I'll be starting it with my mother, and it will be specifically for trauma, people who experience traumas in the past. Many can be like, oh, well, you're not a psychologist and not this and not stuff like that. And that to me, it doesn't really matter. For one main reason is, and this is honestly, I truly believe it to my core, one does not need a specific specific title to help people in regular components. Now, obviously, it makes it more likely that that person might not be competent in it. But I've come across a lot of professionals, and this is with all the love, because I've seen many people in different professions, many professionals, even myself in the past, many professionals who are dietitians, psychologists, doctors, who are not also very competent in their field, even though they have the title. There was a point in my life where, as a dietitian, I was not competent to deal with binge eating disorder. When I was struggling with it at 25, I was a dietitian. I could not have been working with binge eating disorder, even though I'm a dietitian, but I was still struggling with it. So the trauma processing program, which we're launching, is partly a result of all the traumas that I faced, that I've processed for myself and I overcome, because that's something I've done for myself, along with books and courses that my mom and I took, and we'll be putting it all together. So that's coming up soon. That's the next project to work on. And it will be like almost like a continuation to Beyond the Binge for people who want to dive deeper into the trauma. My clients don't have to overcome trauma to be in control of their binge eating, because while trauma can be a contributor to binge eating, it's not necessarily the cause to it. When one learns self-control, self-awareness, they can able to manage their trauma. That program specifically is how to dissolve this trauma and how to process it and how to overcome it, so you can live your life and just kind of be free of that. So that's coming up next. But as for Beyond the Binge, it's like I feel like it's kind of come to its like peak right now, where there's always going to be a small group component program, and then the ongoing like solo program part where people are just kind of joining it, and then the community there grows, and I'm able to take on more, because I've always, the one question I've had for I always set goals for my business every year, and my top goal is always how many people do I want to help this year. And if I increase it year by year, but as I get to like, so this year, for example, I said I want to help 600 people. It's impossible to help 600 people on my own. It's not possible to do it one-on-one or in small groups. That means I'll be like, I won't be able to deliver that. So then the question becomes, how can you help 600 people while maintaining the same efficiency? And that's where the innovation of designing a course, having communities with Q&A calls, training more coaches to do it comes in. So that's coming up, is how I can help more people Beyond the Binge while keeping it as it is, because it's at its peak, and then design that new program that has to do with trauma.
Like, are there any like resounding like lessons that maybe like a specific client or just a specific moment in your work taught you, like anything that just left a resounding impact on you that you might want to share?
That's a good question. Anything that has left an impact on me? I mean, I think everything. I mean, with the level of work that I do, because people who work in my field of like helping others and working with people, which is honestly one of the most difficult professions to be in, because of the volume of emotions and complexity that goes into it, but also one of the most rewarding, for one main reason, is because when faced with so many, from a coach, also from a coach's perspective, or somebody who's working with people, you really have, like, you have to have a very high level of self-awareness and self-control for you to be able to navigate yourself, because you're helping somebody else in front of you. So if somebody in front of me triggers me and that puts me in a state where I can't help them, then I can't function as well as I do. And this might sound a little bit difficult, so I'm gonna try to simplify it as much as possible. But how well one is able to be aware of themselves and be able to be in control of their self overall, and what is within their control, their actions, their thoughts, etc. It makes a big difference on how much they can handle in front of them. And when it comes to working with people, there is often a lot to handle, because people are complex. They're not super. Their life is complicated. It's a result of past experiences. You don't see the whole picture, so it takes time for you to understand. And so the one impact that I've been left at is the impact that every client that I've worked with actually has pushed me to be better. It really has kind of helped me be better, from the amount of complexity that they have, and the amount of obstacles that they have, the struggles they experience. All that has pushed me to be able to be better myself. And actually, they always say the teacher learns the most. The person who teaches ends up learning the most, because they're teaching it over and over and over again. So the biggest impact I like to say is that the people that I've helped actually have helped me so much back in return, is that you end up, as you teach it over and over again, the first person you end up saving is always yourself. So that's the impact that it's had on me, is I've learned so much from everybody I've worked with. I've learned so much from seeing them succeed in their journey, seeing them fail and get up again, then diving into the different areas of knowledge that I have to gain so I can help them again. So everybody has impacted me differently. The one main impact is just being able to be better and be able to do better. But at the same time, be kind to yourself, being kind to myself, and saying that, you know what, like, I am good enough in the way I am right now. And being better does not mean that I'm not good enough. It's just having a thin line of being like, we're good enough. I am good enough, but there's still always a next level to attain, next level to reach. And that's number one impact that I've been kind of like left with.
Do you have any like last minute advice you can maybe share?
This is a good question. So here's something this is actually, when you say that, I think about myself in high school. And I remember seeing these people like who were like give talks about career and stuff like that. And honestly, that never really appealed to me. So I'm gonna say what I think I wanted to hear then. Really, it's very difficult to know where your journey will take you, right? Like, it's difficult to know, like, you might want to be a doctor, or you might not know what you want to be at all. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. The most important thing while being in high school is to protect your body, is to protect your brain. Your brain cells are really, really, really important. And actually, when you're young, below the age of 25, there's a certain part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex which is involved for executive functioning and logical thinking. And that's the part that's going to really make your life amazing or break your life completely. The rest of it is just learning more and consuming knowledge and trying to do your best to experience new things and try new activities and try new sports and be a kid, enjoy it, really enjoy that part of your life and gain experience there, because it's going to help you in the future realize what you kind of want to do, because you're going to be like, okay, well, I tried doing this, I tried doing that, I tried doing this, and I like doing this, so I want to do more of this. And understand that careers and money and jobs really are not that actually difficult to have. They're difficult. We think they're difficult to have because we're trying to compete for something that is scarce. But the reality of it is that you can create your own job any day, right? Like when I graduated from 2 degrees of university, I still couldn't find a job, but I wouldn't trade that experience for anything else, because I've managed to create something that for myself. And the reason why I was able to create something for myself is because my experiences as a child, being in competitive sports, being in debate clubs, being in all these things, helped me have the courage to do so. And so that's what I ended up doing. So don't worry about that part. Don't think that far. Think about right now, what can you do right now to feed your mind, to feed your brain, to protect your brain, to protect your body, to take care of yourself. If there's anything that you feel like, you don't have control over in your life, that needs to be resolved. You need to understand why and what's going on there. And it's okay. Reach out for help, talk to your parents, talk to people who can help you there. But yeah, that would be my best advice.
Well, I think I'm going to finish up here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with me. It was fantastic.
You're
and
welcome.
I know everyone else is also going to love it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and best of luck. And if you ever need anything else, please reach out. Let me know.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye, Anna.